Well, good morning. It's Jerry, and I'm over here at Team Benson with Tiffany, and we're gonna check out her garden. Well, welcome back. So I'm here with Tiffany, and I'm so excited to share with you what she's got going on in her awesome space. And the thing that I love about this most is that Tiffany and her husband are maximizing their space, and I think this is such an inspiration because you might live in a space that Tiffany lives in and think that you can't do anything. So let's check this out. I'm standing here at the very back corner of her patio. Her patio door is over here to the side, but look at this. I mean, all along this fence and that fence down there, this is her backyard, and she has made incredible use of this space. So I just want you to know as we go through this backyard that no matter what kind of space you've got, you can do some really amazing things. So we're gonna come over here and I'm gonna show you real quick what she's got growing on, and then we're gonna sit down with her and chat with her. So over here, I'm so proud of her. She's got corn growing, and she's actually got some good success. She's got a couple of ears there and an ear down there, and she said that they're filling out better each time one grows, and that she feel like she kind of got several planted there together. But I think it's doing great, and a lot of times with corn, planting them close together really helps your pollination, because your pollination comes down from the tops of your tassels, and the closer they are together, the more likely that silk and the stuff from the tassels is going to fall down and hit your silk. She's got some sweet little lavenders here, and as we go over, she's got a nice little family of okras, and I chatted with her about how much these guys love sun. And over here she's got a little gherkin cucumber, and she told me that she learned a lesson in watering her garden, and she was kind of just spraying around, and so she got a little bit of powdery mildew going on her leaves, but she learned her lesson and everything is back on track, so it's looking really nice there. And she's also got a cantaloupe back there in the very back corner, if you can see it hanging right there. It's just growing and growing. And some sweet basil down there. Maybe not sweet, but it's basil. And this right here is her patty pan. Let me get it back over here so you can see a little bit better. And she's got some kale like me that just won't stop. And these are your, tell me what this is again?
California pole beans, or Kentucky pole beans.
Kentucky pole beans, yeah. So, and she's got a lot of awesome green beans, and I told her, you know, the more you pick, the more they'll grow, and she's like, we've already had a big bowl. So they've got a little bit more time till the next time they're ready to eat. A cool thing that I love that she shared with me about her pepper plants is she's had a couple of times where she had issues. She cut them all the way down to the ground, and boom, here they are, thriving, happy as ever. These are poblanas right here, and her jalapenos are just happy as all get out. So she's got way more success with peppers than I've ever had, and she said these shishitos in the back just won't stop. They're kind of ever producing for her, and so it's a real treat for them to have that all the time. We've got another okra, some more squash back there. She's got some marigolds that she kind of keeps reseeding herself. She's got a little tomato down here that's reddened up for her, and some more squashes back here in the back. Another okra, some dragon tongue beans going here that just look beautiful. You can see that she's got all of her shade cloth up. This is the north for her, so she gets this morning sun over here, and then as we come into the evening coming from the south, she's getting a lot of sun that beats down here. So she's done a good job of getting some coverage going and taking care of her little plant. So in here she's got some Swiss chard and another kale that won't quit, and some more beans going along the front. Got another tomato, and then over here is the herb gold mine. A couple of different kinds of thyme in there, some mint, some more basil, rosemary back there in the back, and even sage over there in the corner. We've got some mojito mint here specifically because I heard her say one day they were having troubles keeping that around. And we've got some more herbs over here. So again, I'm so inspired because I know I would be the first person to think, one day when I have this, I'll garden, or when I have a bigger space, or when I'm here, or when I'm there. But I love that this is a no excuses garden. They've used every bit of space that they can, and she's even got some stuff tucked up here on the table. She's got a beautiful little eggplant that has made, I think she said this is like her 6th or 7th eggplant. She's got a Cherokee purple up here behind her. So no space is left unturned here without some kind of life going, and I just think that's wonderful. Now, as I begin to glisten and glow, we're gonna sit down with Tiffany and we're gonna learn a little bit about where she's been, where she's going, what she's learning, and what she's hoping to grow in the future. So let's check in with her now. Okay, so we're back over here for the tell part of our video. I got to show you all the awesome things she's got going on in her garden, and I hope that that again is an inspiration to those of you that either live in a condo or live in an apartment, or even maybe one of those, we called them duplexes back in Arkansas, but I think they call them twins here, where, you know, it's 2 houses split on side and small patios, you know, but there's a way to do it. And if you're determined to grow, I hope that Tiffany's garden here is a big inspiration to you. So tell me how you got going with this.
Well, me and my husband are planning on getting land out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And it actually, too, it was more of a relaxation, too, as well. Because my dad has Alzheimer's, and I'd been taking care of him and different things. And I was talking about gardening, and my husband was like, you might as well practice now. So I decided to build it and see what grew.
Very good. So then when did that start? Was that, you said last fall?
Yeah, last fall I grew my first plants inside from seed starting in August, and I planted them outside late September.
And what plants are those?
They were Swiss chard and kale, and a tomato, an early girl tomato, and a spinach.
Okay. And all of those did well then?
They did. The Swiss chard and kale and spinach tried to burn up a little bit,
right.
And that's where I was like, okay, shade cloth.
Right.
So I got like just an old like pillowcase, cut it up and put it over it, and they grew back. Like everything grew, everything started blossoming, and I was like, okay. And then we started learning 50 million ways to cook Swiss chard and kale, because they grow like bushes every single week.
Yeah, I had, I don't know if you've seen an old, like my end of the summer video last year, but I had Swiss chard leaves that were that big around.
Yeah, and it's like, okay.
Well, I like using them as a wrap too. You know, like you put tuna or chicken salad or whatever you eat on a sandwich and that, and roll it up. I mean, it's like you said, a million things to do with this chard.
Yeah, we started using that also as well as a lot of places for lettuce. Yeah. Because my lettuce, I don't know what it is back here. Maybe the caterpillars come from nowhere and they're like, she's got lettuce, but they came and they just ate everything down to like nothing. Wow. Time after time after time. So the Swiss chard they don't touch, the kale they don't touch, but the lettuce, put it back here and they're like dinner. Well,
that's kind of a way of working with your environment instead of getting frustrated and just like waging a pesticide war against you know, the moths. And that's what it is. It's moths laying babies on your lettuce that are then coming. Yeah, they're not coming from anywhere. They're direct deposited from a moth or a butterfly.
I swear I never saw any of that before when there was nothing.
It's that little bitty one. It's all and you're like, oh, little cute butterfly. He's dropping babies all over your stuff. Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I follow people on Instagram that, you know, they have little sanctuaries that they set up for butterflies and moths, and so we have to kind of find that space, obviously, for the other things that have to exist in this world and what we want. And being willing to shift a shard is, you know, a good way to kind of deal with that balance too.
I'm also getting those hoop houses.
Those hoop houses. When you go
I will have lettuce.
The day will come and she will rue those caterpillar. When you think about going into this summer, did you have a plan going in, or did you just kind of go from like your belly, like what you like to eat?
It started as a plan.
Okay.
And it equaled pretty much one of everything.
Okay. I'll take that one and that one and that one.
It started because I had just one tray. I bought that big tray that you could put the peat pellets in, and it fits like 72.
There you go.
So after 20 seeds, then it was like, well, what else do I put in
Right.
here? So then it became corn, and then it became tomatoes, and then it became watermelon and cantaloupe, and then it was just like, now I need a whole nother bed, so I had to build another bed. So now the dog only likes to go on walks because he's
Right.
like, I give up.
Right, there's no space for me
space.
over there. Obviously, you've taken over. So how much would you say, like if you just did like a percentage, would you say 70% of this you grew from seed?
About 80%.
80? Very good, yeah.
The only things, there's a couple of, like one squash plant and Armenian cucumbers. I grew them from seed and then they died because I think I planted them and then we got the random cold weather here in Arizona. And so I thought it might be too late to get them to plant it from seed again. So I just went to the nursery and got
You can actually do Armenians even this month. You could drop seeds in for Armenians.
Oh,
So
I should
yeah,
do that.
Armenians, cantaloupe. And like I said, she and I have been talking a lot about a monsoon garden. So monsoon gardens are kind of, we get that from the Native Americans. It's a way that they built in kind of another succession planting for themselves, because unlike anywhere else in the United States, we're going to go into this crazy, almost tropical, storm season here that we call monsoon season, and so it's going to bring about a lot of winds, a lot of rains, and so planting a monsoon garden makes use of all those things going on. So the Native Americans would use corn and beans and squash, and they call them the three sisters. And the theory is that your corn comes up and your beans climb up your corn, and then your squash comes up and shades all of your beans that are going up the corn. So it's a big opportunity for us in the desert to get almost another crop going in, because otherwise what we've got now is pretty much what we've got until we get into the fall planting season, because there's not a lot of things that are going to deal with getting adjusted to the heat, being happy, and then actually going and being able to pollinate, because I think
it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's hot.
And it's already over 90 right now, and it's like close to, maybe it's probably 9 something right now. And a lot of pollination doesn't take place with most plants, tomatoes, peppers, like that. When the temperature is over like 93, 95, I think that's the best thing about broccoli and stuff like that.
Yeah, it goes for a while.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about messing with its pollination.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I would definitely give cold crops or stuff that you grow. You don't have to worry about it getting pollinated. It's done.
With beans.
Pretty much.
Yeah, beans just kind of do their own thing.
They kind of do their own thing, and it's
peppers too. Kind of do their own thing.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's being mindful all throughout the summer and spring of trying to get everything to pollinate if you have a shortages of bees. So that is something that I've come to love about those winter crops, is not having to help things so much with their pollination. You just mentioned that you're growing everything organically, and so when you first started get going here, was there anywhere that you were getting inspiration? I mean, did you just start kind of trying stuff?
So I kind of walked into Fry's one day and there was recall signs everywhere. And I realized that I had purchased a lot of those things. Even some of the frozen foods, there was recalls on. I don't know what happened last year, but it was crazy. So I decided that I would just try to grow things. I started with, just your lettuces and the Swiss chard and the kales and stuff like that to try and do it myself, and I was able to do it. Even if it was just a little meal here, a little meal there, like it equaled more and more and more and more and more, especially as my garden got bigger, to where now I can plan everything out. Like I can know that the beans, if I take all the beans off, by next week they'll have more beans.
Right.
So if I just pick a little bit each day, put them in a Ziploc bag, put it in the refrigerator, then eventually I'm going to have a meal.
Yeah.
Same thing with the kale, same thing with the tomatoes, the basil, all of that.
Yeah.
So
That's a good, I just want to stop you there, because that right there I think is a good point to make, because a lot of times, and you'll even hear a naysayer tell you, well, you're never going to grow enough to eat off of that plant. But she does the same thing I do. Collect it, save it, and then you've got a meal. And that's even, I mean, I'm feeding 6 to 7 people at a time, and it's just her and her husband. But that's the thing that you've got to know, is don't let somebody tell you that one plant isn't going to feed you. Because a lot of guides actually say plant a plant per person. So if I was, you know, if I wanted tomatoes for everybody, I'd plant 6 tomato plants. And so I just think it's really good to bear in mind that you're going to get more off that plant than you think if you keep picking and you store it until you have what you need to cook or preserve or meet any type of recipe that you've got going on.
Yeah. And it's nice because it kind of mixes everything up, especially because I have a lot of like one of everything.
Yeah.
So like I haven't had to really buy produce in probably about since February.
Do you think it's encouraged you to expand, like, or do you think that everything that you're growing, do you think that's right in line with how you always cooked, or do you think there's something that you're growing that kind of
like
got you to expand into like your recipes? Or
during the winter I grew purple bok choy.
Oh,
I grew it because it was pretty.
yeah.
And then I was like, I have a really big family, I don't like wasting things. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, we're gonna figure something out with it. And I made all of these different stir fries, and it grew back so quickly. So it was like, okay, and I only had 6 little plants in a little tray.
Right.
And it made me find all these different types of recipes and different things like that. And then I just started creating it. So look out for Team Benson cookbook.
There you
Coming
go.
soon. My husband calls it his food black book, because every time I make something and he's like, that's amazing, write it in the book.
That's awesome.
And then there's an actual literal black book in my kitchen that I write it into.
That's wonderful, because it's kind of like once you get how a flavor can play in a dish, it probably became easier for you to find ways to work it into stuff. Yeah, that's good. And that's a smart thing, is just keep trying to find recipes, and then sooner or later you'll figure out a way to use it anytime you want to use it. So that's real good. And then you kind of said the other day that you had some questions. Is there anything that you want to pick my brain about in terms of like tips?
Yes. So sometimes I think I planted everything a little too close together.
Well, I mean, I go by square foot gardening, you know, so what I kind of look at is, even in your pots here, that's about a square foot. So if you kind of think about the size of a tile, you kind of tend to want to put your bigger plants like 1 to those, but then plants like the beans, you can put 9 to a space. So really and truly looking around, I don't even think that your corn is planted too closely together, because of what I was saying over there, and that's that during that pollination time, if they're spread out too much, and especially in a kind of a container garden, if they're not so tightly packed, then none of that pollen is going to calm down and appropriately hit the silks, which causes the pollination to happen. Our first year we grew corn, and again, we just had, I think, about 4 buckets hugged up against each other, nowhere near. We didn't even get ears like what you got over there. So I think for, you know, your first big garden of the year, I think you've done really well. All these beans right here, there's nothing wrong with all that being there, because, and you'll get to where you can look at stuff and know that's going up. That will be fine there. That's going out. That doesn't need very many people around them, or they're going to get drowned out by the giant leaves of the tomato or the squash. But I think that you've done well with that. And
another question is fertilizers.
Okay.
Because I now have my family of lizards back here that eat everything, so I don't get a lot of bugs. But I want to make sure that I'm not harming them.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I decided that I really wanted to stick to organic gardening, just because I kind of like the hummingbirds and the lizards, even the scorpions and spiders.
Right.
Like, I like all of those. So
she told me that, and when we were over there originally looking around, you could see a couple of lizards, but literally none of her plants have little holes in them. Nothing is eating her garden, because the lizards and like one rogue scorpion are coming and eating all the bugs. So we talked a little bit about fish emulsion, and that's going to be a great way for you to fertilize. I would tell you that when, like in the fall, when like say your beans are gone back and your squashes are died back, I would pull back. And do you know how close you are to the Arizona worm farm?
No.
I mean, you could almost throw a rock. I mean, it's 19th Avenue and Baseline. So I mean,
really?
it's, I mean, a big rock would
I
get there.
went to PetSmart, threw some worms in there, and I think they all ran away.
But what I'm saying is, you're so close to them. You can go down there and get their compost by the bucket or by the truckload. I would just maybe take a 5-gallon bucket or something, or a bag. And so when this stuff turns over for the fall and you're getting ready, because I vision broccoli like all over that bed. But I would pull back your mulch like at a section at a time, and then dump either some earthworm castings from them or some fresh compost, and then pull your stuff back over it and just keep using your fish emulsion, because I mean, that's such a huge feeder, if you will, is the castings and the compost. And all the years, this is the very first year that I even used fish emulsion. So my whole garden has been limping along just on castings and azomite that I told you about the other day. I make some teas, you know, every now and then, like in a 5-gallon bucket, I'll put like you know, a couple of handfuls of manure, black steer manure, castings, some azomite, and I'll let that bubble up for I let the water bubble for 24 hours to get the chlorine out, and then I'll let it bubble for another 24 hours, and then I'll water with that. But that's it. I've only just used. And another thing is, you can get tea down there. Now, in the heat of the summer, they don't brew that much, but if you follow them on Facebook and Instagram, they'll usually tell you when they're brewing. And if you take your own gallon jug, I think gets down to like $7 a gallon, and that's a concentrate. It's a concentrate, really, too. You're supposed to use it within 4 hours to keep it active. I have a bubbler at home, so I go dump mine in the bubbler to keep it going. But yeah, I just come and kind of cut it like, you know, maybe half and half of water, and that's another wonderful, because the cool thing about that tea and using compost and the earthworm castings is you're continually building your micro environment, and that's what's going on underneath your soil. Because whether we like it or not, all those bugs down there are working for us. You know, they're transferring the bad stuff away. They're bringing the bacteria and the life and the biology that our plants need to survive. And so that's all I did forever until this year. I just felt like I needed a little something else, and that's when I brought in the fish emulsion, and I've been doing that just once a week. You know, there's that desire that it's like, it's going good. What about twice a week? Just a little more. But you know, that's when we get into playing God and burning our plants. And I don't want to go backwards. You know, I mean, that's the thing that we have to think about any type of fertilizers, is you don't want to go backwards. You're trying to go forward and better. But yeah, once a week with that. And I mentioned to her, and in case you don't know, we always apply our fish emulsion after dark. So, and that's helped us keep down the flies. It's helped us keep down the smell. Like you know, in my mind, I keep telling myself I can smell it, but I think it's my upper lip. But yeah, my husband never smells it. The kids never smell it in the yard by putting it on after it's completely dark at night. So if you're going to start experimenting with it, and now is kind of the time that when our plants are getting a little bit more stressed out, it's kind of the time to give them a little bit of boost. But again, if you don't want to do the emulsion, go get some fresh compost, go get some fresh castings, and the worm farm is such a cool place to even look around.
I will have to go there. I didn't even know that was there, because that's the one thing I didn't have space for, is a compost bin.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried getting rid of my husband's grills, but But he was like, no.
No. And I mean, I think that's fine. Yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah, you could maybe wedge a tumbler in here, but you are so close. Like, I would give anything to be as close, because it's a jaunt for me to get down to him, but it's nothing. It's just right over there. And so again, I'm so excited to be out here with her. And I want all of you to know, last night when I was talking to her, she was like, I just don't feel like I have much going on. And you can see for an almost like, what is maybe 20 foot by 5 foot, do you think that's
probably
about?
about.
She's got a ton going on, and she's decreased the amount of produce she's buying. She's finding fun and creative ways to feed her husband. And you've got to know, once you get out on that land, you're going to have some skills going on. And I think that's awesome. And I think that as time goes, she's just going to get better and better and better. And like I told Dale last night, my husband, it's awesome that we get to start on this patio, because I'm looking forward to following her all the way out to that land and seeing how they start with that land and grow that land up. And what an inspiration to know that you can start in 20 by 5 feet and growing everything that your heart desires, and then going and really blowing that up into a beautiful little farm or homestead. So Tiffany, thank you so much for letting us come out and visit with you today. And for all of you, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Show and Tell Garden Show, and we look forward to seeing you when you've got a chance to check in again. Have a great day.